Coming to you from Deck 37 of the Imperial Star Destroyer Justicar. I am James Nimmons.
I'm Dave Ward.
And this is Pop Satellite.
We're finally back.
Finally. I guess I bet you didn't believe that we would come back, the 12 of you that listen to us.
It's been a rough few months, guys. So thanks for just kind of hanging out and waiting for us to get back.
It's really hard to put into few words what we've been through in the past bunch of months, but suffice to say, the good thing that came out of it is that we're going to change our format ever so slightly and just stick to talking about things that we're passionate about and leaving just poppy clickbait news by the wayside. So some of the stuff we like still probably going to be clickbait news. I'll give you that.
Well, yeah, of course,
but
because
it'll be stuff we're interested in genuinely.
Yeah, we are fans still, but we're fans of, because honestly, there's a lot of other stuff in the world that has started to tie in to fandom anyway, So
it's a well that they're trying to dip into. It's a mine that they're trying to strip mine. Hollywood is trying to get its hand. Well, it's already done, so it's gotten its hand. All your favorite characters belong to Hollywood and Disney now. How's that feel?
Warner Brothers has had control of the DC empire for a long time. I think like the early 70s or something.
Hopefully they'll never sell out to Disney, because Warner Brothers used to work for Disney. That's how they started. The Warner Brothers used to work for Disney. But trust me, kids, I'm an animator. I know what the hell I'm talking about.
But no, since they're their own company for God knows how long, I don't even know. But I think it was the early 70s that they actually bought DC, like the entire franchise. And so Warner Brothers has owned DC since then. So you can thank Warner Brothers for all the crap DC movies that have been coming out. But also, well, there have been some that have been good, but, the monochrome crap has to go, seriously.
Monochrome?
Okay, you look at, Wonder Woman, for example. What is the main color you see throughout that entire movie? Everywhere.
I never watched the movie. So.
Gray. Everything is gray. Like 90% of everything is some shade of gray. And it's like...
That makes her saddened red, because it's not really red, it's saddened red, which is where they add gray to it to make it darker, and that's what they do to all these colors for Superman on down. They made his blue more of a navy, and they made his red more of a maroon.
It's like someone consulted M. Night Shyamalan on how to make modern DC movies, because that's really what they put me in the mind of, and I really hate his movies. Well, I put him in the same category as Tim Burton, because I hate Tim Burton too.
I liked Lady in the Water, actually. That wasn't a bad movie. You know why? Because it wasn't him fucking with a story that was already existing, and it wasn't him trying to do horror. It was just something completely off the grid.
Yeah, it wasn't part of this other weird series that he has going on, is it?
It had Paul Giamatti in it, and it was just good.
He was an oddball actor anyway.
Yeah, he was playing a maintenance man at this hotel. And there's this creature that exists in the pool, but only at night.
He's like, going back to Giamatti, the main modern role that I remember him for is, did you ever watch the Clive Owen movie Shoot 'Em Up?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
he was the bad guy in Shoot 'Em Up.
Yes. He was awesome at being a horrible guy.
Oh, yeah. That movie was terrible.
Ooh, what I want to talk about is the Jussie Smollett case.
Oh,
I know
boy.
Everybody's been following this. If you haven't followed it,
you gotta be under a rock somewhere, because even I know something about it.
The short version, Jussie Smollett from Empire claimed that he was a victim of a hate crime, and the nation embraced that, and they talked about it on all of these places. And then all this damning evidence comes out to light that he orchestrated it against himself. There's a check that he wrote to one of the guys who isn't even a white guy, because it was a hate crime, right? So it was white guys in MAGA hats that attacked him, and they were and they were wearing masks as well. So that's what he claims. They were wearing masks, and they had red hats, and they said this is MAGA country in a place that is not MAGA country at an hour where no one would be roaming the streets with a gallon of bleach to hit somebody up at 2 a.m. when it's like something below zero.
It was like to what, 3 or 4 below zero with a wind chill of 20 below.
It was something. It was a wind chill of 20 below zero, and people just aren't into that. You know what I'm saying? The people, even bad guys, aren't going to be. This bleach is heavy. I mean, people are that way because they're lazy. But so yeah, he says all this happened. And apparently he almost did, or he admitted shortly that he was unhappy with his salary and that all this was staged. And then he said his story was, I didn't do anything wrong. And then they dropped the charges against him. That's what was the thing I was going to get. They didn't really drop the charges against him as they would if they had no evidence or anything. But they did file what's called a nolle pros or nolle prosequi, meaning the prosecutor doesn't want to prosecute the case, and that's almost next thing to getting a Titanic victory, but is a nolle prosequi. But yeah, it leaves the case open to be prosecuted again, though. There's no that right that you have, that Constitution that annoys so many people, that gives you the right to not be tried for the same crime twice. It doesn't apply if you haven't been prosecuted. So he can still go to court for that stuff. Somebody else can take him to court for that. And I hope somebody does, because he is guilty of hate crimes himself for this hoax. And racist as well. He should be punished. I mean, just like anybody else that's on TV that does something like that.
Well, I'm actually reading an article right here as you talk about this. It says that a day after all the charges were dropped, CBS Chicago received redacted Chicago Police Department reports through a Freedom of Information Act, which offers some new insights to the criminal investigation. It says detectives dug into the $3,500 check he wrote to the guys for fitness training.
Sure, it was fitness training.
Which authorities believe was also the payment to carry out the attack.
Mm-hmm. Because then they attacked him, but he wasn't really hurt that bad. You could tell by looking at him.
Like the guys told police their average hourly rate for training ranged between $20 and $50 at their maximum rate. Smollett would have paid for 71-hour training sessions with that check dated January 23rd. The alleged crime happened the 29th. It said also revealed in the reports police obtained a warrant for his iCloud account and shared access to the data with the FBI. Smollett is still under federal investigation for mail fraud, as the FBI looks into whether he sent himself hate mail threatening his life, which was laced with white powder days before the alleged attack. So he's not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, well, I don't think anything's going to happen at this point. It'll snowball in a weird way. But it was I did like the deliciousness of him being caught in the lie. And it's really good, even though the more he denies it, the better it gets for me, I guess, is a way to put it. But I was hoping he'd get some justice because everyone would see it too. But right. I guess that's not going to happen. And a legal analyst for NBC said that it was fishy and in so many words, and that we might see an investigation of an investigation. And that would be hilarious. But it's not the first time something like that's happened. I mean, other things like that have happened. But another thing I want to touch on, now that I guess we can't milk Jussie Smollett anymore, is Captain Marvel. A lot of people were talking about that, and apparently you're just a stupid, evil hater if you don't like the movie, which is a move they planned in advance, with with what's her name? I'm not going to say her name. Brie Larson.
Yeah, Brie Larson.
Being all SJW before the movie's released, so that they could say, if you didn't like it, you're just one of those haters that are part of the problem. You're not allowed to just not like the movie. It's not like it's terrible or anything. Okay,
so this seems to be
from
the case.
The reading I get is, because I haven't seen it either. I don't want to watch it just yet. The reading I get from it is that it's what you expect from Marvel. And what I expect from Marvel / Disney is a C-grade movie. So if it is a C-grade movie, then it is exactly what we expected. And you can still watch a C movie and have fun. But like if
Well,
you're a nerd
yeah.
like me and you compare it to the source material, you're always going to have problems.
Okay, so
You're gonna see problems with it.
this is a problem that is very, very prevalent right now, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's the age of the offended, and the age of I wouldn't say entitlement, but this is not your ex, it's mine now, type thing, and it's like
Can't be ours.
or the fact that
Or this stuff was one way when you came to it because you liked it. Now you must change it into something else because you have some sort of
or like you're talking
idealism you want to get across.
or like you're talking about, it's like you can't just dislike it. It's like if you don't like it, then you're automatically lumped into some kind of stupid group that, I mean, has no bearing on why you like the material or not. The new Ghostbusters was a perfect example of that.
So
as
bad
well.
they're making another one to make up for it.
Yeah, it was so terrible, and like everybody thought it was terrible before it was a terrible idea, before it even like came to fruition.
You know what?
But somehow it got pushed through.
I'm gonna call it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So somehow it got pushed through, got put out in theaters, even with all the cameos and everything else. Guess what? Everybody hated it.
I'm gonna call it the next Ghostbusters. They're gonna say that Egon is dead and his ghost is gonna help them out. That's what I call it.
Yeah, that might be
Hologram Egon, his dead ghost.
That would be interesting.
I would rather see the corpse of Harold Ramis dug up and paraded around in front of a film camera like a marionette than watch that Ghostbusters. I tried. I really tried to watch it.
I really did too.
I
and
sat
it just
after like I don't know, was it 10 minutes or something like that? I was just like, I am not going to like this. I can tell.
I soldiered through it, but I didn't like it because it, okay. Had it been a passing of the torch versus a complete remake of the original, then I would have liked it more.
Yep. I would have liked it more too.
Because it was hokey and it was funny, just like the originals were, just in a modern way.
But it was being pushed down my throat like this is the new thing, and
it's ours now. The fact that you felt the need to remake instead of pass the torch, it completely soured everything. Mm-hmm. Because you're trying to remake something that was so unique, so uniquely great that you're never going to recapture something like that, because those guys, that situation, that time period, like everything, you're never gonna like I said, you're never gonna recreate it.
They had lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Well, they had so many problems too, with a number of stuff going on. I mean, there's a whole documentary on it, but also like most of the lines ended up being ad-libbed, and because that's how those guys, like especially Aykroyd and Bill Murray, because they were on Saturday Night Live. And so that was just, that was the turmoil and everything at the time that made that movie so great. You can't recapture that.
No, I mean, things are the way what they are because of the temporal setting that they happen in. Where you are in time, what's going on in the world. Like 80s jokes and stuff are funnier to people who lived through it because they remember things like Pepsi ads and Gorbachev and all that shit. So there's probably so many people out there that heard me say Gorbachev and they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Look up the Max Headroom Pepsi commercial.
That's pretty good too. The choice of a new generation. But so Captain Marvel, I don't know. If you want to see it, that's great. If you've seen it and loved it, that's great. I'm probably going to watch it eventually. Tell you what, though, I took my time, and I'm glad that I finally watched Black Panther.
Very good.
Black Panther was awesome.
Yes.
It was an awesome movie, even though there was a little bit of the preachiness thrown in your face a little bit.
I don't think that we're going to completely ever avoid some sort of activism or
statement. No, it was just something that stuck in my craw when one of the characters was like, we, meaning black people, are policed at a higher rate. I'm like, that's not true. The police are policing, and if you encounter them at a higher rate, then there must be a reason why you did. I mean, every time when I was younger, every time I would go back to the ghetto where I was from, after I kind of grew up, I'd get stopped by cops. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you doing
Yeah,
here?
I mean, I've been stopped a couple times. What are you doing in this part of town?
You know, fucking
Just
visiting my goddamn aunt.
or for me,
I'm
it's
not here to
like
buy drugs, officer.
I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going, so I'm just following the GPS, and it took me this way. I'm sorry.
I don't have. I already have a place to go get drugs, officer. I don't need to come here.
Yeah, this looks a little run down for my taste. I have some higher class than this.
You have the privilege of choosing higher class drug dealers. White privilege again. That brings me to there's this person. I don't remember where I saw this story, and it doesn't matter. It's not worth repeating the place anyway. But it was a story written about a YouTuber called ContraPoints, and ContraPoints is a transgender left wing person who's given themselves a lot of credit for de-radicalizing ultra right wing young boys. And I'm like, first of all, they also claim that YouTube is a hotbed of place. It's the place to go if you're going to become a right wing radical.
Oh boy!
And basically, it's fear mongering. So any place you can go and learn about some stuff that we don't like, that goes against what we say, is right wing and radical and terrible. And this is a hotbed for it. But if that were true, then what the fuck is ContraPoints' channel doing on YouTube in the first place? It should have been run off. That's more proof that, I mean, it's really a place where you can, for every right-wing video, you can find 10 lefties, because there's all kinds of left-wing people that have a lot of confidence in themselves, and they make, YouTube videos about, the government and such, and the things that they hate, and white men, and white people, and all that stuff. So, ContraPoints, I don't think deserves to platform to be able to well, not the platform. ContraPoints isn't in a position to be able to say, I de-radicalize loads and loads of young boys from YouTube, and that's where they get their radicalization to begin with, is YouTube. It doesn't really make sense to me. So I know you don't have much to say about that, but I just wanted to throw it in there.
I try to avoid all that stuff because it's just
like, it's stuck in my craw so bad. I just had to bring it up. Hopefully that'll get somebody angry at us enough to write us a message, because we're that lonely.
Yeah, I'm the one that tries to avoid all that because I just simply don't care, because I think everyone's stupid. So
well, you might have something to say about this thing that I found. This is something I did find today, just a little while ago. There's this author named Fonda Lee, and she's mad at Barnes & Noble for stalking people like J.R.R. Tolkien and the guy that wrote the Wheel of Time series. I can't remember his name, so people will have to write that in the comments. Yeah, stalking them because they're dead, and she doesn't want to compete against them. And I'm like, hey, that's level 1 writer. If you're going to be a writer, you got to compete against the dead guys first.
Yeah.
And then maybe when people learn who you are, they'll seek your book out at the bookstore.
Fight against the guys that can't fight back or have no clue, anything anymore.
She's like, there's like 3 shelves of Tolkien. I'm like, well, you don't have 3 shelves worth of shit to put up there. And if you did and were that popular for that long, you'd have a bookshelf just like Tolkien. But you just want that space cleared, and the game board, all the players thrown off the game.
Sorry,
to make space for you.
Middle Earth has its place.
Yeah, that's not how it works. You cannot just throw out the greats. You got to compare yourself to the greats. It happens to every artist, so it should happen to to every writer. Writing is a form of art, so. You have to compete with the greats. Every drawing competition, every comic book artist out there, they have to compete with people like Michelangelo and stuff. Your shit gets compared, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But that's hopefully that's where they learn some of their shit from. Maybe you should read some of those Tolkien books, and I would know who you the fuck are. I don't know who you are. She does this thing called the Greenbone Saga, which I know about, and now I am disinclined to read it because you've been a bitch. You're being stupid. And she talks about Barnes & Noble a lot. I've looked at your Twitter page, So yeah, I was talking to her directly. I looked at your Twitter page,
I figured you were,
and
because I don't have a Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter.
I don't Twitter. Sorry,
So
folks, I'm not that advanced.
I do. I have a Twitter, but it's not.
Facebook's enough for me.
I don't want to link the only Twitter I have to this identity because it's connected to a YouTube identity that I have, and so blah. I'll look you up on Twitter, but you can't look me up on Twitter. Yeah. So there's this comic named Jim Jeffries, and he works for Comedy Central as well. I don't know what show he does, but it's also a show where a comedian bashes, people who are labeled right wing, or it's just the Daily Show diet. That's what it is. It's Diet Daily Show, and
The Diet Daily Show.
and I've seen his act. I used to really like him a lot because he's like heavy on the atheism, and he's not afraid to say things like "Aunt Muzzie's a bunch of cunts." He's from Australia, and he's talking about Muslims and stuff. Well, this Jewish guy, Avi Yemeni, exposed Jim Jeffries for his show, at least, because he's mad at Jim Jeffries, and I'm like, there's probably an editor and some producers that are behind this tricky editing. Avi Yemeni, I can't remember what his what got him into the spotlight, but he's politically always thrown out there along the side of Nazis for some reason. And he particularly asked Jim Jeffries, if I come on your show, don't show me next to any Nazis. And they broke that rule. And then he said, don't cut up the interview and then have my answers to different questions. And they broke that rule too. And to bust him doing it, before the segment, he went out into the crowd where the crowd was going to be, and he set up a bag with his cell phone, and he recorded his version of the whole thing without anything edited out.
Nice.
And in between takes, Jim Jeffries, when the cameras weren't on, were making like anti-Muslim jokes, and worse than supposedly worse than "Aren't Muzzies a bunch of cunts?" But he said something about like if the dingo ate the Muslim baby, he would spit it out. It's funny, but yeah. And now they're calling. He's like, fire Jim Jeffries, and I think he should be fired.
Please.
I think Jim Jeffries probably should be fired because he's been metamorphed into something that he never should have been, and that is a left-wing lapdog who just sits there and does the same thing Trevor Noah does. Somebody's taken over at Comedy Central. And they just like to bash. They got the Trump derangement syndrome, just like everybody else.
I was gonna say there's a lot of that going on.
And I'm so tired of it. I want to hear other stuff.
People need to have political derangement syndrome because the entirety of it is screwed up. And none of it is what you think it is. None of the new young politicians coming in are going to be any different than what's in there now, despite what they're putting on, despite the big, bold, brave faces and activism that they're trying to put on.
I'm glad that the socialists aren't making much of a headway. Because Democratic Socialists of America are some scary people.
There's a lot of them that are scary, but they are near the top of the list.
AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a card-carrying member.
That kind of leads me also into the
Bernie.
Well, no, but there has you mentioned her, but you can also mention Obama in this as well, because the comic world has always been somewhat tied in with the current political spectrum of what has been going on in the country.
Not always, but sometimes.
A lot of it has, and you had stuff like Stan's soapbox as well. Where Stan would talk about what was sticking in his craw.
But you know what the difference is between what's happening now and that?
Well, that's what I was going to get at. Is like you had comics back then, like the political figures and whatnot that were in the comics or had comics made about them had already done something. And here you have, when Obama was elected president, like in a span of about 3 or 4 months, somebody had already made him into a comic character, like a hero, superhero, and like somebody's done the same thing with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And the thing was, but this was before Obama had ever did anything, and the same thing is true with this girl. Right? Idealism is one thing. Actually getting stuff done and becoming a legend is another. And you don't deserve to have any sort of comic drawn or written about you unless you have done something significant in the spectrum of making history.
These people got the Nobel Peace Prize, but what for? I mean, really?
Yeah,
what for?
He
expanded bombing of Muslim countries 400%. So he's not an angel, and people love him though. They bend over backwards and forwards for him, and I don't get it. I don't get that at all. And I voted for him.
And the thing with her is, she's trying her, Green New Deal and whatever else. It was shot down by both parties.
Bipartisan.
It was bipartisan, shot down.
And then she was like, "You're all in bed with each other and corrupt." I'm like, "Welcome to politics, newborn."
Exactly. Throw all the temper tantrums you want. It's not going to change a thing. It's like 30 years old, and I guess still young and full of ideal and
young, dumb, and full of cum. That's her.
She got the spunk, but she also dumb. I don't care how much college education you have, you can still have really stupid ideas.
Yes. Well, I've had some.
As have I.
I'm not trying to control life for other people, though.
Oh, I know, but you get what I'm saying. It's like
she's the one trying to say we're going to regulate buildings this way and earnings this way and blah blah
and
blah. Heard it before.
One thing,
blah blah.
One thing that kind of I don't know, it's kind of demoralizing to me because you do have a structure in work that is, you have entry level and then on up, and then, it may not be the easiest to work your way up, but with working your way up becomes higher pay, or if you gain enough experience, you can get another employer to give you more. But when you have something like you pay everyone the same amount, regardless of what position they're in. To me, that's demoralizing. I don't want to make the same thing that if I were higher up and I had way more responsibility than
everyone here get $10. Boss, same.
If I have more responsibility versus the entry level mail clerk that all they're doing is sorting mail all day, then I'm really not going to be happy with making the same amount of money as they do.
That's what happens when you democratize a business. Everybody gets a say. For the guy that thought the business up and took all the risks starting the damn thing and handles a lot of serious workload and, talking about 80-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Plus. And, him and the guy in the mailroom are supposed to be equal.
No.
I don't think so. The guy in the mailroom needs to work his way up, save his money, start his own business. That's what he needs to do.
Or just work your way up and, do something wise with your money. Yes, now, we're not disputing that all wages should be livable wages. It's not $15 an hour for entry-level positions, although minimum wage should be higher and it should be a livable wage. Yeah. I'm not disputing that.
You should be able to live in a shitty apartment with a shitty job. That's just a given.
But you also have to have a pay scale instead of level pay, because when you have level pay, you turn into Russia basically, or any other communist. You can't say any other communist country because
you're talking about government jobs for everybody. You get government job. You put reflectors in center of road with little hammer.
Yeah. Or the Chinese have went away from that somewhat. It's like their government control is still communist, but they're capitalist communists because they actually.
It's hard to say what they really are.
They actually allow their population to have personal property and personal profit, but they're still heavily regulated by the communist government.
And people still get snatched off the street.
Right. So it's a little China is like this big hybrid of both.
Sort of. Yeah. It's I haven't studied China currently enough to comment on exactly how it is there, but with any degree of expertise. But I've been told for years, that they're kind of capitalist now. Well, if the government is still killing people for dissent, then none of that fucking matters.
No, because
it's not good communism.
The population, the portion of the population that was born after Tiananmen Square happened, have no idea it even happened.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they don't have a clue because that shit's probably been covered up. Or buried.
Absolutely.
No one talks about it.
Well, I mean, like China even regulates, their own internet. Like they can't access. Well, technically, they can't access like anything other than their own country's social media. Like instead of Twitter, they have Weibo.
Yeah.
They have their own version of Facebook or whatever else. You have the hackers. I'm sure with like 2 billion people in a country, you're gonna have a few hackers that hack into everything else that everyone else uses. But
I'm sure the super rich also get to use the regular, real internet.
Yeah, so
or if you pass the social tests that prove you're a good party member, and your social credit is enough, you can get the real internet.
Right.
Because you can be trusted. Just like when they would let people travel. Russia and in other countries too would just let performers travel, and some would defect. But they would let them travel thinking that they could trust them enough to buy the bullshit and really do their job and come home. But no. Like Yakov Smirnoff defected.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that? You're too young. If you don't know who Yakov Smirnoff is.
Just listen for that.
In America.
Listen for the gasping laughs, and then in Soviet Russia.
In Russia, car drive you.
Yes, that's Yakov Smirnoff.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that laugh was so unique. Like, I've never heard anyone else be able to actually replicate his laugh.
So, some other things that I wrote down that we could talk about, even though we're doing our own time now.
It was whatever.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4 sucks. I hope nobody spent money on this game.
You have had so many internet problems with this game.
Well, I don't have this game anymore. I took it back, and they gave me my money back for that one, surprisingly. Because it was within 30 days.
Yeah, well, you were having internet problems with it.
Yeah.
Well, what's this one that you're on now that you're having the same problem with?
It's not the same. I got booted once, but I've had a good experience playing the Division 2.
Division 2, yeah, you have to stay online, though.
There's no pause.
Yeah.
So you got to find a safe area.
Dude, that's some BS right there.
Yeah, and most of the time you're not in a safe area. You got to make a fucking effort to get to a safe area or get killed and respawn in a safe area. But your friends, you're encouraged to play with people. And like today, like we had a bunch of bugs invade our actual house.
Oh boy, yeah.
So I was online with somebody backing them up, and I just dropped my controller and start fighting the bugs. And because I'm like, fuck that, this is real bugs. They'll be flying around in a little while. They were just hatched, some sort of flies with long wings. They were like fruit flies of a kind.
Yeah, they were freakish looking.
Yeah, and they had just hatched, and their wings were drying, and one or two of them took off, but I nuked them all. We found 2 piles of them in our floor under a bench.
No, they were presumably in the potted plants that we had sitting over there, which are now moved outside.
Yeah, so yeah, they're gone. I was handling that, and this kid was reviving my character.
I kept revived you what, 5 or 6 times?
I don't know. I looked away. I wasn't even there, and I would look up and I'd see my character dead. Then I'd fuck around for a little while with the bugs, and then I'd look up and I'd see my character being revived. And it's like he was good enough to play being shot at the whole time. And he would make it over to my not moving character and revive him. I'm like, you didn't even have to do that. Because in the Division 2, if you die, you can always revive you. Even your dead corpse. They can handle all the enemies first. That was what I thought he was going to do. But no, he must have revived me a number of times, at least twice. And I thought that was really cool. But Call of Duty Black Ops 4, there's no one player, of course. They tell you this beforehand, but you expect it to be a decent enough game. But it's floaty and stiff, clunky. It's not Call of Duty. It's not smooth and fast enough to be Call of Duty. And Call of Duty 2 was the best one so far. Call of Duty 2 was the smoothest and best operating of the series. It got worse and worse after that. The closest thing that I've been looking for is something. I'm waiting on Doom Eternal, which comes out in December. But so far I'm playing the Division 2 for my shooter and Battlefield 5, which isn't like all the old Battlefield games. But it's a decent enough team shooter to play.
I rocked out through Far Cry New Dawn.
Yeah, I got most of the way through that, but I watched you finish it.
Yeah, it's let's just say that if you haven't played
finished it at least.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Ethan is difficult, even if you have all of your updated stuff and like health and everything.
I don't spoil it.
It's gonna take you a little while to defeat Ethan, and there's no real set way of doing it, but it's gonna take you a while. The rest of the game, however, the detail, the gameplay, it's just like Far Cry 5. It's excellent, really. I mean, I have to give it 5 stars. I could not put it down.
Yeah,
I was game. Even like after you finish the campaign, you know, if you've done it on an easier difficulty, I recommend going through on a higher difficulty because it does get difficult. Like Ubisoft ramped it up this time around. So yeah, give it a shot.
One thing I like about the Division is it's cooperative. So you're always backing people up or going out in teams, but like you're never against the other players unless you match make so that you're playing a game that's like that. But for the most part, you're up against computer controlled enemies, and they're like these gangs that are trying to take over Washington D.C.
Huh.
And you're a member of the agency, and the agency is trying to keep the continuance of government, and their base of operations is the White House.
Right.
But it's like post-apocalyptic. There's a tent city outside the White House, and it's where the military is set up. But you go to like the Lincoln Memorial, and there's the True Sons. They're set up there, and then there's some other trashy gang. But instead of red, they wear green. But they're basically Antifa.
Uh-huh.
They're the hyenas. So there's post-apocalyptic punks trying to, be badasses with guns and stuff, and you get to waste them, and it gets out a lot of aggression. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Right now I am playing. I'm a racing nut, of course. So I always play Gran Turismo Sport because that's a continuous thing. But I picked up Dakar 18. If anyone is familiar with the Great Dakar Rally, that happens. It used to happen in Africa, and now it happens in South America. But they've made a pretty detailed game about going through it, and you get to choose a lot of the same categories that race the actual rally. It's actual stages, and actual stage lengths. Like I did 2 stages last night that took me an hour and 30 minutes to actually drive through. It was crazy.
You're enough of a gearhead and a race fan that game, it looks beautiful too, but that game, you can play that game. But for somebody that's like me who like racing games too, I'm playing the hell out of my copy of Forza 7. But someone like me, like isn't familiar with the tracks or isn't familiar with the drivers or doesn't love it on an artistic level like you do, they'll see this game and they'll go like, "Who's this motherfucker bitching at me about?"
Oh yeah,
if
you have a
me?
co-driver with rally, if you do any rally games like World Rally Championship or like Dirt, or even Dakar, like
World Rally Championship 6.
Yeah. So the thing with rally racing is you have a co-driver who is calling out pace notes and track notes to you because you're focused on driving. So what they're doing is they're telling you in a coded fashion what's coming up as far as the track and which way to go, so it's not a surprise for you, and you can actually navigate the course. And so you have
not
to bear
having been there before.
Yeah. So you have to bear that in mind of when you play a game like this.
With some off-road genius, that stuff. It's great. I saw
Oh,
your
it's-
car get some serious air.
Oh yeah, I've got
like,
it's
wow.
the driving engine is almost as good as Gran Turismo. The physics are very true to life. If you drive off a sand dune, a steep sand dune too fast, you will stay airborne for about 3 or 4 seconds and then land very hard and damage your vehicle. And the game will make you, if you damage your vehicle enough, the game will make you get out and repair it.
Nice.
So,
I wonder if there's an online for it.
I'm not. I think so.
Everything's got an online.
Yeah,
these days.
everything these days do, and this is a very modern game because it's Dakar 2018.
I still need to go on
So-
to Forza and play online some more.
If you are a race or a rally fan, then I would say give Dakar a try. It's actually a very challenging motorsport game.
Yeah. And speaking of video games, I am looking for people to play the Division 2 with, or any other games on Xbox Live like Forza. My Xbox Live gamer tag is Jambi840, DJAMBI840. Like Jambi from Pee-wee's Playhouse. The wish is granted, long live Jambi. So that's my name on Xbox Live if you want to play. And on PlayStation, but I'm rarely on there anymore. But I still have a PlayStation Network account that I pay for. I am who am I on there? I can't remember now. I want to say I'm Jambi1138. I think that's what I am on there. Jambi1138. So that's what I am on PlayStation. If you got some games we should play, go ahead and send the names of those games to the email address that appears in all of our videos. It'll appear at the end of this one when we play the music. Send us ideas for shows, people we should talk to, things we should talk about, because we want to make this interactive. And if we build up the listenership, we'll have contests, and we'll expand and have live. We'll go live and read what you say on Twitter and read what you chat to us. And
We are back.
have all that going on. This is a fantasy for me, so go ahead. You got to participate. We want you to participate. We're going to force you to participate.
You're gonna do stuff and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, you're going to stop just listening. Just write us some hate mail if you got it. Or if you know someone that would hate the show, tell them to listen, and maybe they'll write us. Okay? But we're not going to go anywhere, so you might as well get used to it. And that's all I got to say. And
I think we're
this was a
good.
decent episode. So keep your nose in the air and your tail to yourself. See you next time.
Later.